Alright, I could sit here and talk about balance all day and complain, but other creators have already done that, so I'm not gonna do that. And instead, I'm gonna focus on the one thing that I'm like really pissed about, which is how much Blizzard seems to not understand Genji at all. Like, first, they state that they wanted to nerf Genji to put him more in line with the power level of characters like Reaper and Tracer, other flankers. Well, first off, you shouldn't be comparing those characters at all, because Tracer doesn't really have vertical mobility, while Genji has, right? They have two different niches, two different kits completely, right? They have completely different uptimes and downtimes and setups that they want to have. Reaper as well is a character that not only is different than these two characters, right? Reaper is also a character where you don't really want to see be good at a high level, because if Reaper is good at a high level, then Reaper is dominating in low level, right? Reaper is a low skill character, so Reaper should not be a character that is buffed to relevance in high tiers, right? And he wasn't buffed to relevance in high tiers, but he was meta in high tiers. Overwatch League had basically 100% pick rate, right? With the Winston, Reaper, Sojourn, Kiriko and Lucio meta. And whenever Reaper is good in high level, it's basically always a really bad balance state. And so I feel like comparing all these three characters as if they are the same, they should have similar power levels, is just completely wrong. Reaper should be totally out of the picture in here, because you don't want to relate Reaper with other characters that are completely different skill level, right? Reaper is a low skill character, while Genji and Tracer are high skill characters, right? Obviously all of those could have high skill ceilings if you play them well, but it's still the difference, the gap in skill that you need to realize the potential of those characters is just completely different, right? And then Tracer and Genji have their similarities, yes, but they also have big differences. And before you nerf Genji, when you went into the top 500 leaderboards, you would see a similar amount of play between Genji and Tracer. That's before Genji got nerfed. Then Genji gets nerfed, then you have other meta implications that make Genji worse, and then when Season 2 arises, what do? They buff Tracer. But it's not just a small buff. They give her a massive 20% damage buff. Yes, they removed the bug that made her not have any fall off, but alright. I'm not gonna be explaining here because I wanted this to just be short, but she had a bug where she could do more damage than she should have at range, right? The fall off wasn't working properly. But they removed that, but still, the buff that they gave her is insane, right? And Genji wasn't even busted. Genji simply fit in the meta and he is a popular character. That's why he was seeing a lot of play. So nerfing him because, I don't know what your reasoning is, because he wasn't actually being problematic. And also, if you're gonna try to tell me that Genji was being problematic in low tiers, you should say the same for Sojourn, because Sojourn is infinitely easier than Genji and does way more, right? And on high tiers, it's not like anyone has a problem with Genji. People actually like to see Genji being played in high tiers, because Genji has been shit for so long, right? That he basically hasn't ever been good in high tiers. So actually seeing him be good for once is actually a welcome change. So you couldn't say that Genji got nerfed because he was actually broken or anything like that. He was just at the power level that I feel like he should have. Maybe a tiny little bit too strong because of the DPS passive, but I would disagree. I don't think that the DPS passive actually did that much. Genji is already a snowball character with the dash resets, so I really don't think that the DPS passive does much for him. If you compare it to other characters like Reaper, Reaper is a character that really benefits from the DPS passive, right? Because the closer he is, the more damage he does. So getting that speed boost actually increases his damage, right? If you think that Genji is like a little bit too strong because of the passive, nerf the passive, right? And that's what they did in Season 2. But guess what? They haven't reverted the nerfs. And they said, okay, yeah, if Genji underperforms now in Season 2, we're gonna think about reverting one of the nerfs. I'm sorry, do you even have to think about it? It's just so insane that they are trying to use data so much and they can't even read the data properly. Genji has never been an issue outside of 2020, well, in the very small period where he got giga buffed. I would even go as far as to say alright, he wasn't OP to deserve the nerfs that he got, right? I'm not really gonna enter the debate there, but in that era, I feel like he was in the same situation as he was in the start of Overwatch Chu, which was he fit the meta, he didn't make the meta. He was simply good at comboing your Orisa ults, and he made very good use of the overhealth that Break Pack gave. I feel like the big problem comes from Genji having 30 damage on shurikens. Genji having 29 damage on shurikens is quality of life, it doesn't change many breakpoints. Genji having 27 damage also doesn't change too much, but again, why would you nerf his damage from 29 to 27 if Genji doesn't really need to get nerfed? If you think about it, if the 29 damage is purely quality of life basically, so that for example in close range you can hit triple headshot plus melee and that be an insta-kill, you don't need dash instead of the melee to get that, then there is no reason to nerf that. Unless you thought that maybe he was dealing too much damage to tanks, right? Which is where the small number difference of Chu per shuriken is gonna actually start accumulating to maybe change the breakpoints, right? But Genji isn't really good at fighting tanks. Genji wants to try to ignore tanks as much as possible and just go for squishes. So I don't see why they would ever nerf his damage. And also, if you go ahead and think about the ammo, honestly, as much as it is bad, I don't mind it as much. Like, if they just nerfed his ammo, I would be okay. I also don't see why they had to nerf the ammo, and I also feel like the nerf in the ammo makes it so you have to be too conscious of your ammo count. You can't just be there, okay, I'm gonna poke a little bit, and from that poking I'm gonna create an opportunity to go in, right? Okay, maybe I hit 1 or 2 shots and that is my signal to engage that person, to actually be trying to combo them and finish them off quickly before they get support from the team, right? Now, if you poke them just a tiny bit and then you engage, it's like, wait, I don't have ammo anymore basically, right? It's to a point where you shoot once or twice in poking and you already want to reload, thinking that if you would engage, you wouldn't have enough ammo unless you just basically insta-killed them. And that doesn't really make for a fun gameplay experience in my opinion. So as much as I don't feel like the ammo is like, oh my god, that's gonna nerf the character to the ground and that's gonna make Genji suddenly go from a character that gets picked because he's fun and he is good, from okay, no, this character is trash, I don't want to pick him. The main problem with the ammo nerf is simply in the same way that the 29 to 27 damage nerf, right? It just removes quality of life and it doesn't really have any real in-game implications. The ammo nerf just makes the character clunky, and yeah, like I already explained it, right? And that's not something that you want. Genji's identity, he's a cyborg ninja. You don't want to play a cyborg ninja and just be like, oh hey, I have to reload here, oh hey, this character doesn't do damage, oh hey, I can't assassinate anyone. Where is the character identity? Think about Doomfist, for example. Doomfist has that massive gauntlet, and then he goes ahead and charges that up and punches someone, and then he deals like less damage than quick melee sometimes, if he doesn't charge it enough, or he doesn't hit someone into a wall, right? There are obviously different issues with Doomfist entirely, right? If you make that too strong and because of the CC and stuff, like, it can be very annoying, so there are balance implications there. And there always are with like trying to have a character be based on their identity in the game, right? Or rather, power level be based on the identity of the character, right? But I feel like at least what you need to be able to give to Genji is a fluid kit. And with these nerfs, you're removing fluidity for no reason. No reason whatsoever. The only damage number that you have to be careful with on Genji is 30. It's not 29, it's 30. Because with 30 damage, you can hit 5 shurikens, right? You can count headshots as 2 shurikens in that case. And so you have to hit 5 shurikens and a dash to kill 200 HP. You can't do that on 29 damage, you can't do that on 28, you can't do that on 27, you can't do that on 26. It doesn't really matter. So the big breakpoint that Genji has, or had in the past, was 30 damage for 5 shurikens instead of 6 shurikens. That was the big breakpoint. That is the only thing that I would like to never see Genji have ever again. 30 damage. But there's no reason for you to ever remove his damage from 29, because it's simply quality of life, and the ammo, it just feels clunky to me. It doesn't have that big implication, but it just feels clunky and it makes the character, it loses the identity of the character. I don't feel like I'm playing a cyborg ninja, I feel like I'm playing a rusty piece of metal. So yeah, I ended up ranting a bit, but I think that I got my point across, right? Like right now in Season 2, it really feels like there is no reason for you to ever pick Genji over Tracer. even though both characters are different. In some maps with verticality, you might have wanted to pick Genji over Tracer if Tracer was a little bit stronger of a character than Genji, simply because Genji has such an easy time getting to high ground. Now it's like, well, Tracer just so massively outshines Genji that you would never really ever want to pick Genji over Tracer. She's just way too good compared to him. And then Blizzard went ahead and said that they wanted those characters to have similar power levels, right? So you have Genji and Tracer having similar power levels, similar playtime in top 500 before the Genji nerfs, then you nerf Genji, then Reaper gets indirectly buffed by meta, while Genji gets indirectly nerfed by meta, and then you massively buff Tracer. Yeah, sure Blizzard, that makes a lot of sense.